So here's what happened. So this is the nose strut. And this, all this oil leaking down here, is a problem. This is a reason not to go flying. And I wiped it down I wiped half of it just to make sure it smelled like hydraulic fluid or whatever it's supposed to smell like, to make sure it's just not dirty water. But this little gap is reason enough. There is metal on, there will be metal on a rough landing there. So this is a reason not to go flying, which is really kind of upsetting because today is a beautiful day. And around the Northeast, we haven't had any of these actually. So if I push up on the airplane, the piston should be about like that. That's how much space I should have. And if I let it sit, it's that really isn't enough. It needs to be up there. And actually that's the line that it was before. So yeah, so this is gonna have to be redone, rebuilt. That's a drag. Anyway, welcome to airplane ownership. The seal in my nose gear strut blew, and I have fancy pants on my wheel fairings, or my wheel fairings are fancy pants. So what happened is when I was walking back, I noticed that not only was there oil all over the wheel fairing, but the space that is usually maybe 4 or 5 inches went down to looks like about 1/8 of an inch, and any kind of shock would have been metal on metal there. So you see that as the piston moved up and down, there's just no play in it. So it was clearly a decision not to go flying. And also, it probably is gonna cost, I'd say, anywhere in between, let's say, $550 to $750 to have a new seal kit put in there, which is kind of a drag, but it needed to be done. And I knew that this problem was kind of lurking there because the mechanic who looked at the plane just after I bought it told me that, yeah, this is probably going to have to be done. So it's really not a surprise, and I'd like to have a nice big fat shock absorber there because I'm a low-time pilot. But that also leads me to this. When I started this YouTube channel, I always told myself I never wanted to do a hosting segment to sit there and talk to you guys because I always wanted to take you guys flying with me. And I wanted to keep you guys in the cockpit because you're learning to fly and I learned to fly, and that's what you want to see. Except this weekend, something dawned on me, that I have made the decision not to fly more times than I've made the decision to fly. And it started this weekend with this. So I really want to stress how important aeronautical decision making is. So right now I'm in my house with my antique instruments and my fake airplane propeller from Sky Mall. In the first partnership I was in, one of the partners always told me that my aeronautical decision making was very good. In fact, I always leaned on the more conservative side. I always made more decisions not to fly than I did. And I returned after, in fact, it's one of my episodes, and I returned back to the airport after a faulty RPM reading, which the airplane would have been perfectly fine to fly, but I didn't want to risk it. I'm still a low-time pilot. At that time, I was probably 120 hours. Now I'm about 250 hours, which is still a low-time pilot. I'm not instrument rated yet, but will be. And it's still more important to make those decisions not to go flying as well as make the decision to go flying. But it's really important to err on the side of caution, especially when you're a low-time pilot. So I'm going to keep this short. You don't want to sit there and watch me talk because you want to sit there and watch me fly. So remember, if it feels wrong, it probably is.